What's up, Writing Workshop, and welcome to our next virtual day today. Disappointed that I can't see you guys in class today, but it is what it is. We're going to roll with it today. As you can see, objectives-wise, today's lesson is different from yesterday's. Yesterday's was largely work time for you guys to wrap up some stuff we had already been working on. Today's objective, we are moving on with some learning today that we are going to do anyway. A little lesson on word choice in writing. I will tell you that we are going to continue with this theme of word choice once we see each other again tomorrow as well. As per usual, since today is a virtual day, I would encourage you maybe to pause the video, take a moment to pray if you haven't already. We'll continue together in a moment here. Alright, hope you had a moment to say a quick prayer, because we are moving forward with word choice today. You are watching our word choice strategies video right now. I will tell you, at the end of this video, I will give a little overview of an assignment you'll see in Schoology. That assignment is technically due by the end of the night tonight, but please know this, in class tomorrow I will take questions over it, and I could certainly extend it if needed. So, it's definitely something I want you to attempt, but if there's some confusion, or if we just need to make some edits to it, I have no problem reopening that if needed, just moving forward this week. So in our lesson folder, you'll see word choice strategies and word choice practice. We're going to take a look at word choice strategies. You're watching our video now. You'll see that I have a little PowerPoint attached here. You can click view to follow along with me if you like. If you click on the document itself, it will download to your computer. I'm just going to open this up in PowerPoint and we'll talk through it together. Alright, there we go. Sorry if there's a weird jump in the video. I had to set up the PowerPoint. Earlier this semester we talked about how I'm not going to give you big lists of vocabulary words to memorize over this semester. What I would rather you have as writers are just some tools in the toolbox, some strategies that you can use to improve word choice, improve vocab in your own writing. Today we'll cover those strategies in general. We'll practice them especially for nouns, adjectives, and adverbs. We'll do a lot more work with verbs later this semester. So first of all, why is word choice important? On the most basic level that we can think of, choosing the correct word is a matter of avoiding confusion. So, for instance, let's say you write a sentence that says, Gwen stacked the ball out of his hands. I think we can tell that there's some misspelling issues here, but we have words like stacked and ball with a W here. They're words, they're just not the correct words for what we're trying to say in that sentence. That sentence is probably trying to say Gwen smacked the ball, B-A-L-L, out of his hands, right? So on one hand, we just have to be able to choose the right word for sentences to be clear. On the absolute highest level, we're talking pro writers here. Word choice is about creativity, about entertaining your audience. With a loud smack, notice that smack is italicized there as a sound effect. Gwen swiftly dispossessed the boy. Swiftly is a great adverb. Dispossessed is a fantastic verb as well. That's a sentence that we might see in something like a novel or a short story, right? It's one that's creatively written. There's some different words in there that really engage the reader. We're not necessarily pro writers in here just yet. We're also better than that first sentence as well. So our biggest need as high school level writers is improving word choice by being specific. Gwen hit the ball out of the boy's hands. There's got to be a better way to describe hit. There's got to be a better way to describe ball, right? By being more specific, we can be a lot clearer on what's happening in that sentence. When I say hit, do I mean did she spike it out of the boy's hands? Did she slap it? Did she punch it, right? I could say Gwen punched the football out of the boy's hands, right? That describes a lot more clearly what's happening in that sentence. And all I had to do is change around a couple of words. I changed hit, that's a 5-cent word, into punched, that is a $1 word, right? Just as an example. These are just a couple of general tips that impact word choice overall. Word choice mainly impacts nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. The other 4 parts of speech, conjunctions, prepositions, interjections, pronouns, those are ones that are more grammatical in nature. There aren't tens of thousands of those, right? But when we talk nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, there are tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands in English. There's a lot to choose from. One general tip in your writing, don't use words that you can't define. On one hand, don't use super fancy words that none of us know the definition of. But also on the flip side, don't use words like thing that don't have clear definitions in the first place, right? If you're using the word thing in writing, you probably mean to use a different word that's more specific anyway. Be specific, just on that same note, we want to use precise words to be as clear as possible. We'll talk about a couple of different ways to do that. And be creative. Use synonyms to keep your writing fresh and engaging. Notice there we've got a picture there. We've got dictionary and thesaurus.com. Use technology as a tool for improving word choice. Our own classroom has all kinds of dictionaries, even new ones that we can use now, that you can use as a tool for using the right word in the right space for writing. Let's talk about some specific parts of speech here. Now, verbs we'll do quite a bit with grammatically later this semester, but verbs in writing are the part of speech that gets impacted the most. Mostly because there are all kinds of verbs that get overused in writing. One of the most common ones that we see in essay writing is show. That is a very common verb that we want to find better replacements for. Here's an example. This example shows why it's important to wear a seatbelt. We could use a better verb there. This example illustrates why it's important to wear a seatbelt. This example proves. Prove is a great verb there. Why it's important to wear a seatbelt. Show has all kinds of different meanings and connotations. So by being more specific, by using a more pointed verb there, I can get a lot closer to what I actually mean in that sentence. Once again, verbs also have some really specific grammar rules that apply there. We will double back to them later on this semester to talk about how they work grammatically too. Nouns are something that we'll work with today. Some overused nouns to think about. The word thing, as we mentioned a moment ago. The word stuff. Idea. A noun is a person, place, thing, or idea, but the word idea itself is very vague. The word person. Even the word man, woman, boy, girl, there's better words to use as replacements there. The word place, time, animal, plant, those general categories of things that we want to be more specific with. Check this example. I enjoy video games and other fun things. There's got to be a better word for thing in that example. I enjoy video games and other hobbies, right? Hobby is a lot closer to what I mean by thing in the first place. I might as well replace that filler word with what I'm actually trying to say. I drove my car to work today. That's a fine sentence, but it's a nickel sentence, right? Let's make it a $5 sentence. I drove my Toyota Camry to Milwaukee Lutheran today. That especially is something to think about for your college application essays, right? Especially if you're doing storytelling. As you read through your story, do you see vague sentences? Do you see spots where you could be specific? What type of car was it? Where do you go to school? What classes do you enjoy? What was the person's name who impacted you? Those kinds of specific details can really add some flavor to your writing. Speaking of flavor, you could also be creative. This is where we think about connotation, so words that have the same meaning, so to speak, but they have different emotional tones to them. Check this. You've got, let's go over to my place. Place is a super vague noun, let's replace it. Let's go over to my home. Home has a very warm, comforting connotation to it, right? Hey, let's go over to my crib. That has more of a slang connotation to it, right? Even changing that word, changing place to home or place to crib, changes the entire tone, the entire creative feel of that sentence. I can make that more or less formal depending on what I'm writing. A dog tore my wallet to shreds. A mutt tore my wallet to shreds. That has a negative connotation to it. A puppy tore my wallet to shreds has a more positive connotation to it. A canine tore my wallet to shreds. That has a scientific feel to it. So again, I can control the tone of what I'm writing just by changing up what I want to use for my noun. Dog is very vague, but I could replace that with a creative word like mutt or puppy or canine. I could be specific. What kind of dog was it? A Doberman tore my wallet to shreds. A Chihuahua tore my wallet to shreds. Again, just we want to use better nouns to improve the flavor of our writing. Adjectives work the same way. Some overused adjectives to look for in your own writing. Good and bad. Again, those are 5-cent adjectives. Let's use $5 adjectives. Happy and sad, hot and cold. Any other adjective we would consider weak. Something that a 3rd grader would be able to use in writing. Let's use something that 11th and 12th graders can use in writing. Best strategy for replacing adjectives is to use very precise synonyms. In other words, you want to state exactly what you mean. I like to use the word good as an example. This pizza is good, Mira is a good volleyball player, and I had a good day. Those all use the word good, but in very different contexts, right? The pizza is good in a very different way that Mira is a good volleyball player. And that's also very different from what a good day looks like, right? I might say the pizza is tasty, right? Tasty would be a good replacement for good. There I am using the word good in a sentence, right? Notice how overused these are in speech. Notice that the pizza is tasty, but I wouldn't say Mira is a tasty volleyball player. That's kind of creepy. I wouldn't say I had a tasty day. That's very strange, right? There I'm being more specific about what I mean by good. This pizza is tasty. This pizza is delicious. This pizza is scrumptious, right? This pizza is exquisite. Those are all much better adjectives than just saying this pizza is good. Mira is a skilled volleyball player. She's a talented volleyball player. She's an athletic volleyball player. What do I mean by good there? If I say Mira is an athletic volleyball player, that has its own set of definitions, right? Maybe she's not technically skilled, but maybe she's just very fast, gets to the ball very, very quickly, right? That's different from being skilled or talented, right? Maybe she's just a fantastic setter. Her form is wonderful. But that's different from just straight up athleticism. What do I mean by good? Do I mean that she's skilled, talented, fast, strong? Let's be specific there. I had a good day. What constitutes a good day, right? I had a peaceful day. I had an exciting day. I had an enjoyable day. Let's use more precise synonyms for those adjectives in order to be much clearer in our writing. The last word category we'll look at today before we do some practice are adverbs. Adverbs work a little bit differently from nouns and adjectives. Some overused adverbs to look for in our writing are very, really, only, totally, actually, and usually. Notice that some of these are different. Something to note with adverbs is that all adverbs carry the same weight. There's really no such thing as a weak adverb because adverbs usually just mean the same as one another. We're just looking at ones that are simply overused in our writing. They're ones that are very easy to use and oftentimes have better replacements. The idea there is use synonyms to vary them in our writing. It's so easy to use the word very or really a million times in an essay when we could have used better synonyms. For example, let's say you have a bunch of reallys in your essay, replace a couple of them with highly. Or let's say you used only a lot in your writing, replace some of those with merely, in order to vary up just your word choice in your writing. We want to avoid repetitiveness in writing. Adverbs are an area where that happens quite a bit. Something to think about too. Let's say you're using an overused adverb on a weak adjective at the same time. One strategy to try is to replace both with a better synonym. So let's say your sentence says, you have a very bad scrape on your knee. This is a double whammy. Bad is a 5-cent adjective, and very is an overused adverb. But I can replace very bad with one word, right? You have an awful scrape on your knee. You have a terrible scrape on your knee. You have an ugly scrape on your knee. Let's use just a better adjective in general so we can get rid of the overused adverb at the same time. The rest of this video is all practice. For the sake of time, I'll fly through this little bit in the PowerPoint, but I also want to take a look at your word choice practice document together as well. First one, the kid said, "You're very tall." There's all kinds of stuff happening in this sentence. First of all, let's talk about nouns. We have the word kid right there. It's okay, it could be better, right? What kind of kid? Does the kid have a name? I could say, little Johnny said, "You're is fine," and then I have very tall. I might want to use that strategy where I can replace a weak adverb and adjective at the same time with one strong adjective. Little Johnny said, "You're enormous," or "You're gigantic." Some better adjective to replace that combo would be a good strategy for number one. Number two, I watered my plants and fed my pets. Two vague nouns in this sentence. Watered and fed are fine as far as verbs go, but plants and pets, what kind of plants? What kind of pets? I watered my succulents. That's the kind of plant that I have in the classroom, so maybe I could just be specific what kind of plants. I watered my succulents, I watered my cacti, I watered my hydrangeas. Be specific there. And fed my pets. What kind of pets? I fed my hamsters, fed my goldfish, fed my parakeets. Be specific there. Number 3, the text says that the death penalty really impacts minorities. Two words in here that are problematic. One is text, actually. I might sound like I'm being fancy there, but I could be specific. What kind of text? Is it an article? Is it a book? Is it a transcript of an interview? Be specific, right? I like transcript. The transcript says that the death penalty. Other problem word is really. Impact is a good verb, but really, not a great adverb. The text, or the transcript, says that the death penalty disproportionately impacts minorities. That is a much more professional sounding sentence. That could be a sentence that we could use in, say, a research paper. We'll talk about that later on this semester. I'm so happy I could totally kiss you right now. So, two problem words again. We've got happy, not a fantastic adjective. And I have totally. We'll talk about totally in a second. First of all, happy has so many strong adjectives or strong synonyms we could use. Elated, overjoyed. I like overjoyed. I'm so overjoyed I could totally, right? The problem with totally, it's not a bad adverb. It was just hijacked by surfers in the late 90s, early 2000s, so its connotation is kind of weird nowadays. Can I just get rid of it in general? Sometimes you can just get rid of bad adverbs. I'm so overjoyed I could kiss you right now. That's pretty good, actually. Some other ideas for totally replace with completely, entirely, although that doesn't work well in this context. We do want to watch out for adverbs, whether they're necessary or not, or whether they should be replaced. Last thing to look at, just real briefly today, is word choice practice. I'm sorry this video is a little bit long, but I want to set you up for success here. We got word choice practice, and I'm not going to be able to type on this document without altering it on your end, but this is a OneDrive assignment. You have the ability to edit this yourself. As it says, the following 10 sentences all contain weak, vague, or otherwise unclear words. We're mostly just dealing with adjectives, adverbs, or nouns here. Please rewrite these sentences using better word choice. Best way to do this on your end is actually to just get rid of the lines. You might highlight each line and just type in your sentence. So for number 1, I've got Mr. Kalkoff is a cool guy. Notice there we've got two problem words. We've got cool, which is not a great adjective. We have guy, which is not a great noun, right? You've got options. You can be creative, you can be specific. So after you get rid of those lines, we just want to replace it with a stronger sentence. The Mr. Kalkoff is, that's all fine. We got to figure out what to do with cool and guy. Not a fantastic sentence, right? Mr. Kalkoff is a relatable individual. Maybe that's a little bit fancy for what you're looking for, right? So you've got some options on what you change up there, right? What do you mean by cool? Is there a better word for guy to try in that sentence? I'm not going to waste your time. There's all kinds of other sentences there I want you to try as well. Again, you can delete the lines along the way. I'm just going to be looking at your sentences themselves. This will be the kind of assignment we can take a look at tomorrow if there's anything really difficult, but I do want you to attempt it on your own. Until then, peace.